Hello and thank you for joining me for Game 4. I have transformed Riv into Julian Pastry Time car. Very proud to round out the Academy action for Thursday. Crumbs, as always, it is very good to see you.
What's up, Pastry? Likewise, glad to finally have you here. Have you been catching the action? Because we have had some very interesting games.
It's been a spicy day. I think in general, this has been a very spicy start to Academy. Basically, every team we thought was good is struggling to win games, and I guess we'll see what the rest of the evening has. But it has been very interesting to watch these games play out, and I think actually for such a small patch, 10-2 has actually had quite a profound impact on picks already.
Oh, yeah. The Volibear in particular, it looks like you got to play him. You got to at least play him or respect the ban because it came out in full force. And it is such a big nuisance when it comes to those team fights. No Squishy can really withstand the fact that you have a giant bear jumping on you. It's like a delayed Malphite ultimate with a scarier follow-up.
All right, we'll see what happens in our next matchup. Of course, IMTA Academy versus TSM Academy. On the IMT side, Crumbs, it doesn't feel like IMT should be in the position they're in. Like, if anything, this roster should be even better because they added LCS veterans. Like, this very well could be an LCS roster.
It definitely is 3/5 of an LCS roster. Apollo Hakuho were the longest standing bottom lane in the LCS. No one has played longer than these two together. If they are in Academy, they should by all means be able to dominate the competition or at least consistently come up with leads. They haven't done that. They are 1-1. The first game was really rough, and the second one was against CLG, but a CLG that really made a lot of misplays. So I think here in a much more perhaps even ground of competition, they should really come out ahead. Otherwise, we're not really sure what's going on with this roster because the only thing we know to give us context into this is that they were in LCS last split, and the coaching staff has decided to put them into Academy because of their performance.
Yep, and obviously we'll talk more about this as it goes on, but their opponents, TSM Academy, off to a pretty decent start. Still back to the old ways of splitting games every week, it feels like, but the obvious play to talk about here has to be Evolved. He had, kind of a lukewarm start to spring, but ramped up all the way to TSM's fairly impressive playoff run. And this is a player that we have said you should have your eyes on. Now in his second full split in Academy, he's young, he's very talented, and he's clearly learning how to play at the professional level. So eyes on Evolve this split to see if he can kind of live up to the expectations we have for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he had in spring. It's fairly good, right? High KP in the 2 games that he had in the first week. I believe his KDA was around 10. And one of the most interesting things about him as a player for me, yeah, there it is. Look at that. I even remembered that.
Nice.
Was the fact that he had a fairly solid streaming career in front of him if he wanted, but chose to go into the pro route. So many players just say, no, I want to go as a streamer. But the fact that we have these very talented players that even were at one point somewhat one tricks are able to say, no, I want to take this path, I want to compete, and then really show up is just so interesting to me because the first in spring wasn't as exciting as it has been in the first 2 games that we had, where he just solo carried so many fights that were no business for TSM to win.
Yeah, it definitely feels like his individual confidence is building, right? Like, I feel like in a lot of professional level matches, like, mid laners don't really do what they used to do. Like, you don't see that many solo kills, you don't really see people crushing lane. Like, there's lots of Corki and Azir running around sometimes, so like people will just farm it out, and it's more important to be with your team and rotate with your jungler. But this is the kind of player that can like really dominate a lane, I think, especially here in Academy. And now that he's finding his footing, it's nice to see more of that killer instinct come out as well. And Crumbs, I don't even think it's like you need to say like, oh, like he was kind of a one trick. Like, I think he would admit he was a one trick, right? He was a cat one trick. That was his old name, Cat Evolve. But he's like, he will play just about any champion he needs to get his team the wins. And I think that's been cool to see, like you've been saying. Like a player that is clearly saying, this is the direction I want my career to go, and I'm willing to learn all of the things that I need to learn to become a professional player.
Let's just hope that that learning direction doesn't take him into the ditch of the Karma mid lane. I am so over that already. And for the it's a symptom, actually. It's a result of all the players that are not playing to win lane, where they can just say, oh my god, I found the perfect pick so that I don't have to win lane. I can just survive and then participate later. So the fact that you have people playing this is already speaking to the mentality of playing the game. Whereas you have the players that say, no, just always give me something that I can carry will take you so much further down the line as the game continues to evolve and give you more opportunities and champions with which to influence the game.
I like that. The ditch of Karma mid lane. We'll see if they do avoid that at all, because I kind of agree. I will say, though, that like I understand why people are playing Enchanters, and I think with Senna getting enough of a bump to maybe see more play in this patch, like that is a spot where I like having your Enchanter, because I think one of the problems with, say, support Karma, or even sometimes support Lulu, is that these are like, champions that are very good with gold, but when you're playing support, it's very difficult to get it. Senna has the idea of like flipping it on its head. So I'm down for more farmer Karma if it's in the bot lane, right? I agree with you that I don't need any more solo lane Karma in my life. So I played it in the LCS in top lane. That was like, okay. Like I think I can maybe settle with that, but I agree with you that especially here, I'm done with Karma being in the mid lane. Yeah. So we'll see how the Champs League shakes out.
Even in the top lane, you know, the thing that makes me not like it in the top lane is that you're not even grouping up with your team that much. So what are you even doing with the pick? You're just kind of sitting there and they're trying to split the lane once again. You're never going to try to win it unless you're going for the split pushing Frozen Fist build that came out a long time ago. But that is so niche. And even the players that piloted it, I think it was Shakaris that actually just started trying to get everybody to acknowledge that that was a thing. They know it's not about winning. It's more about just destroying the opposition's morale.
It's about winning the mental game, not necessarily the video game, I suppose. Well, we'll see what happens here in this draft. We've got bot lane bans has kind of been the flavor of the season so far. Of course, jungle also getting attention. Kalista, Syndra, Ezreal, and Graves the first four here.
That is definitely a no ban there because we see
they don't need it.
The little cross sign. What do you call that symbol? The circle with a...
It's like the don't sign, right?
Right, the don't sign on and so on. Don't sign on it. So very bold out of this 3/5 LCS roster.
Well, Thresh the other ban, and there's first pick Varus, which has been kind of the go-to for bot laners. Aphelios and Trundle, though, going to join the party on the TSM Academy side.
Very curious to see what Xmithie plays against the Trundle. We've seen Lee be an alternative into this, but obviously the Trundle will eventually get to outscale, and with Aphelios, you already have a very dangerous lineup when it comes to pick and damage. If he goes with Nidalee, this is exactly the direction that we expect to see what is it, 5-time LCS champion to go in, because why not? You're in Academy. You are given complete free reign. You should be able to hard carry.
I'm trying to remember how many trophies Xmithie does have, actually. 2 on CLG,
I think it's 7, actually.
2 on Liquid. No, 7. No one. I think only Doublelift has 7. I think Xmithie might have 6, though. There was a period in time where he overtook Bjergsen. Overtook or tied Bjergsen for the number of trophies. I'll check it later. I should know that. But
I got it right now.
Certainly he's got a lot. Let's put it that way. And I agree with you. Xmithie certainly feels like he should be making a bigger impact here in Academy. Not less so the other pick for Hakuho that has become almost the go-to support, I feel like, for so many of these players. We've seen it in a bunch of different combinations, both in spring and, of course, continuing here in summer. Treats, though, and Braum starting to become like the peanut butter and jelly of this player. He always plays Braum, I feel, and he's good on it. Like, I get why you give him the pick. He's very good on this champion, but for some reason, whenever I see Treats, he's just playing Braum like 95% of the time. That will be the pick here alongside the Aphelios as we move into phase 2 of bans. This one I do like to see. Urgot taken away from Alorum. Most of the time when people get beaten by IMTA Academy, at least this was true in spring, it was Alorum and Insanity on some sort of like specialized champion duo that was just causing problems. And Alorum, he has plenty of those picks. Fiddlesticks also going to be banned away, so to keep the surprises to a minimum, as Kassadin's the other ban there for IMT, and they'll have the 10th ban of this game.
Also, Fiddlesticks looks absolutely terrifying in that image, and it could have been mid-lane Fiddlesticks. It's something that we've seen, or I've seen in solo queue so far. It can be fairly annoying despite the old Fiddlesticks not being as relevant as it was before, just because your drain does affect minions and you did get buffed in the damage to minions. And as for your Urgot, well, He's still really strong. I think it is Whippo in the Fnatic in LEC that is able to continue to play him and really show us what he's all about. But now we're going to have a very color-coded TSM that I can't wait to see playing Volibear.
Well, back at it again, Crumbs. We just saw Volibear wreak havoc in the top lane in just our last game. We'll see what Dokla can do here on the champion. But IMTA have to go ahead and finish their draft now. There's a Azir for Insanity by the looks of things, so keeping things awfully normal for these two solo laners. But maybe Alorum has something in the back pocket. I mean, if anyone is going to have a unique counter pick to Volibear, I feel like it would be Alorum, because you have to think at this point, you know, as teams have got a week in and starting to play the champion more and get reps in, like, you probably have seen this champion in solo queue and scrims now, so if you're letting it through, what's your plan to play against it?
You know, I think Urgot was actually the plan for it because he gets fairly low. You can execute him before the heal goes off, but I like the Malphite quite a bit as well. Yes, the Trundle can ult you and take your stats away, but if you can just still hit the carries and take down that Aphelios, the rest of the lineup is going to have a bit of a lack of damage. So being able to answer with a Corki out of Evolved should make it a lot harder for the single target Nautilus and potentially the big Malphite engage to hit a single target and your team composition still being able to deal with the follow-up.
Yeah, Malphite is the answer. We'll see how it works out, but I agree, like, Alorum does not need very many reasons to play Urgot, so if you think it's a thing he might go to at all, or you think it's effective against Volibear, or both, it certainly makes sense to ban away from him there. Corki, though, as you mentioned, the last pick, so we will get a very classic mid lane matchup at this point. I believe I mentioned that one isn't that exciting, but we'll see. It's good in team fights. No one wants to watch Azir and Corki lane against each other, though. That's the real problem, Crumbs.
Oh, yes, I remember this is your favorite mid lane.
This is everyone's least favorite.
But luckily, I think the side lanes will offer us enough of an exciting game. We have the Volibear, which is always a thrill, especially since it's new. Even the Nidalee versus Trundle, you know Nidalee wants to be very aggressive. And then Nautilus, who always has action around him. It is impossible to play Nautilus and not be playmaking.
That's true. Certainly looking forward to... I mean, again, even with the team fighting mid laners, excited for the lineups on both sides. I think a very competitive game here is about to be brewing. I will say, though, I'm trying to think, like, throughout my career, which mid lane matchup do I dislike more? Is it Azir Corki or is it Azir Xerath? I have seen so much Azir Xerath back in the day. I think there was like 2 straight seasons of the LPL where that's kind of all anyone played for 95% of the matchups. I think at least there was a bit more interplay there, so maybe that's more interesting. Again, Azir Corki, both good champions. Just, I'm a laning phase player. The first 15 minutes with Azir Corki is generally very uninteresting. But
I like Azir Xerath so much more, because
yeah,
at least the Xerath has skill shots, right? There's a lot of waiting and like, oh, is he going to hit that ult? Like, oh my god, is he scripting? How could he be doing it? Like, obviously he's not scripting, they're playing pro, but if they're good enough to make you think that, then that's already exciting enough. Whereas the Corki, like, oh, here we go. He's got endless rockets. There's no punishment. Yes, he's got Valkyrie. Okay, he's got auto attack. So you could miss every skill shot on Corki and still win through autos.
I will say that at least when these like very farm heavy matchups happen, like the role of the jungler becomes a lot more interesting, right? Because sometimes, like, depending on the setup, you'll have junglers try and gank these lanes. I think Corki, but both Azir and Corki kind of want to do the same thing: farm, push, and then roam. So seeing the coordination between those champions with their junglers, with their other laners is interesting, especially given that they almost always have teleport, and Corki's package is actually something fun to track once you roll around the mid game. So there are interesting things happening between these two champions, just generally not against each other.
That dynamic actually gets a lot trickier to track down when you consider that both teams have new junglers. Smithy, first time playing with his mid laner, and same thing for Winston and Evolved. So who knows how quickly these two can adapt to each other and then play around that. The communication is obviously the most important thing, whether it's, hey, I can't help you for that scuttle, you're going to have to give that up, and letting your jungler know from the get-go, or just your laner telling you, listen, I need help to shove out this wave, or I need this item spike. So whoever can communicate best, whoever is more eager to communicate and share information, will usually have the advantage and be able to move first. And in a game where there's so much damage, moving first often wins the fight.
I actually think that matchup v matchup, this is the highest experience discrepancy in the entire league. Like, Xmithie has been playing in the LCS since the first ever split, and has only missed a single split in his career where he was playing Challenger. He didn't make it in the LCS 1 year, very early on in the life cycle of the league. Winston has played in Collegiate for quite a while, but depending on where you put the line for professional play, he is new to professional play, and is certainly new to Academy. So, a very tricky opponent to play against. You have one of the oldest and one of the most experienced players versus absolutely one of the newest, at least to this level of play. Winston, though, I think has slotted into the team fairly well. I'm certainly curious to see how he grows as a player. TSM Academy have actually had a pretty good run in Academy of like organizing their team, and I think starting to cultivate more talent. I think we look at someone like Evolved and can see some of that growth. Blaze Olive now on Golden Guardians Academy kind of has a similar story. I'm also curious on your thoughts of this jungle matchup, Crumbs, because we're starting to see aggressive jungler versus Trundle a lot more. And I don't know how you feel, but I just kind of feel like all this, like, Sejuani just got replaced by Trundle. I just think it's like, yes, they function very differently, but as far as, like, safe, good frontline champions go, like, all the players that would default to Sejuani feel like they're just defaulting to Trundle now.
The good thing about Trundle being the default of Sejuani is that he's even easier. There's no skill shots. You can't really mess him up. So you're always going to be consistent, which is actually fantastic. Whereas the Nidalee, the thing with these carry junglers is that a lot of their carry power comes from their ability to clear the jungle quickly, and that means really clean mechanics when it comes to kiting out your minions and chaining those camps back to back and being able to swiftly move around the map. And so if the junglers are not used to being able to clear out these camps fast, they're really not going to get a lot of value out of these carry picks if they're not able to stay healthy and be able to then roam or gank afterwards. Then there's almost no point to picking these picks. I was just looking at Blabber, who can cleared on Olaf, hit level 4 at 257 without a single leash, which is just a ridiculous number. If Xmithie can pull something similar, obviously the Nidalee is a little bit slower, but if his mechanics of clearing are just as good, or if not better, then I think that he will be able to punish the Trundle early on. However, it's when they group up where the Trundle really gets to shine, because all he has to do is pop a pillar up, disrupt the entire engage, and let Cork and Aphelios do his work.
Yeah, I feel like if we're charting like skill shots as like a line of skill expression between the two jugglers, like Trundle is like all the way down the bottom with just Pillar, which has a fairly massive range, the only real one you have to contend with, versus Nidalee, who like is very reliant on hitting her spear consistently in order to do damage and close the gap. So yeah, like I think the key word that you said, Crumbs, for me is consistency. I think Trundle is an excellent pick if you're trying to be consistent, but these more aggressive jugglers, and I think Nidalee sits at the top of the pyramid for me, is the most challenging to be consistent on. If you excel with her, she will take over the game for you. But yeah, if you don't, it falls off very quickly.
The hardest jungler to play.
Nidalee, I think so.
Because there is so much that you can do to optimize her to truly get to shine and take over a game. Now, you mentioned spears, but another aspect is your traps. Can you anticipate the position that the enemy is going to be at?
Oh,
that's
a Brahmin invade.
Flash from Apollo.
There's Exhaust, there's the Pillar, they've got it all. Oh, needs more tags. Apollo holding on to that flash though, but the volley flashes are coming. Stunned he goes. Damage is there, and they're going under the tower. Need one more. There's the auto, and it's first blood over to Lost.
Should have flashed a second he got hit, or at least drop the ward and get out. That's going to be a very painful start from him as he burns the flash and doesn't have a very supportive support to help him out. However, Winston did start Pillar, so that's going to hurt him a little bit on his clear. And so this is a cue for Xmithie to try to take advantage of that. So we're going to take a look at what happened here. And he's hesitating too much here, right? He's thinking, uh-oh, wait a minute, trying to get out. The second he got hit by that, the only play was you needed a flash down. But he greeds out, and the rest of the team flashes and punishes him for it. Doesn't have heal either. That would have maybe bought a little bit more time and kept him out. And love the emote game there too. Not only with the KO, but also with the Immortals logo too, to let him know what team he is on.
It's been a pleasure to have emotes in professional play, Crumbs. I could not agree more there. Winston, by the way, not slowing down too much. It doesn't look like he got any help either. So the single buff clear of Trundle continuing to be good, even with that pillar skilled at level 1. We'll see, though, if Xmithie can potentially exploit that or just outpace Trundle in the jungle. You have to think, given the nature of the champions, that is something that should be able to happen. Bottom lane, though, as you mentioned, is going to be significantly harder for Apollo and Hakuo. But for the longest standing bottom lane in the LCS, now in Academy, in Apollo and Hakuo, Lost and Treats have kind of like started to become one of the premier bot lanes in this league. In fact, with King currently not being able to play for Cloud9 Academy, they may be the best bot lane in Academy. So it's been nice to see them like step into their aggressive tendencies a little bit more and start to become the duo we saw at the end of spring in playoffs that we didn't see at the start of spring continue to show up in the early stages of summer.
They have to play with that confidence that they are the best or will become the best, whatever it is. They can't play with those nameplates and get into their head that they're up against someone that has so much more experience than they do. So if anything, what I heard from you in the beginning of the game when it comes to the experience versus the new players is that a win here for TSM would actually be a fairly great sign for all the rookies that are going to be here. And that's
Alorum
a dead
in trouble. He's absolutely dead. What a nicely lined up gank there by Dokla and Winston. Wrong time to face check there for the Malphite.
Look at how much of that setup was Dokla, because he was able to push out the wave, go into the jungle to check out what was going on with Nidalee, and then his wave was coming back, made it fairly easy for the Trundle to access the lane, and now the wave crashing back puts the Malphite, which doesn't really look that much like a Malphite, looks like a very powerful being from the void. He now just has to sit back and get denied.
I also just like that's not a CC combination I necessarily would have thought of, but proves surprisingly effective. I think one of the things when Volibear was changed is that like his old Q is so satisfying, right? It was actually a fairly potent CC alongside his old slow when you could just fling them into the air behind you. Now that Volibear can't do that, being able to add the Trundle pillar there and a little bit of the slow from the Trundle bite was more than enough actually to take down the Malphite despite the flash. So nice play. We'll see if they can in fact continue to milk success out of that particular matchup in top lane. Bottom lane though, Lost and Treats getting things shoved in. Hakuo getting gravity beamed on. There's a little bit of a root onto Varus, but just just throwing some glancing blows in. I think TSM wisely detecting the presence of Xmithie, at least down towards this side of the map, so wanting to be a bit more careful here.
A good thing for Apollo, though, is that he has been able to farm like a monster here, having a pretty good lead here.
Treats so actually going to counter TP here and just go for it along with no TP to speak of, so there comes Dokla, there's the stun, going to keep going with the slow, and that's a kill for the Volibear, 1-0-1 already.
Oh man, TSM is coming out swinging. Apollo does not have flash.
Oh, Xmithie, he's got flash, he's fine.
Flash.
Treats tanks the tower shot, but he's also fine. Good, unbreakable to stop the incoming Varus Q. And Lost is going to finish farming up this wave as TSM counter ganking with their top lane. A very good use of the TP advantage there.
They are on fire, have a 1.1k lead so far. Now, he's going to be able to solo out this dragon. I don't think the Azir can quite follow him up, although there are pings. They are thinking about it. Apollo can be distracted by this as he has TP. Maybe a blind Q can snipe him out. Winston is going to die for this.
Oh, he got it.
He loses it.
He just didn't have flash, and now he's dead. Oh, it was going so well, Crumbs.
Oh. Straight through the heart. Should have been Heartseeker Varus.
All right, well, that's a huge windfall for Immortals there. As Apollo and Hakuo sniff out the Drake and just steal it away along with Winston's life.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Because think of all the time that Winston devoted to trying to solo that. When junglers tend to go for these solo dragons, especially if they're not very fast jungle takers, they are wasting huge opportunities where they could be farming out camps. So Nidalee is going to take a big advantage of that. And now the Trundle is going to be further relegated to the support duty that he was picked for in the first place. So he should put aside his delusions of being able to carry and just start rushing that Knight's Vow and just sit back and tank for your carries.
That Volibear skin is amazing, by the way. Just putting the sirens up every time he pops his Q. That's wonderful. I feel like now that's the only Volibear skin I ever want to see.
That's the police one, right?
Yeah, it's too funny for words. Alright, well, back to this bottom lane advantage you spoke to earlier, Crumbs. Varus, very good. In fact, one of the top, if not the top bot lane pick for a lot of players these days. Is up almost 2 waves, actually. Gonna get a couple more, and yeah, that's 14 CS with a wave to clear here for Lost in Treats. And also getting pushed in mid here. Insanity building up towards, you know, about a wave right now, up 6 CS or so, though Evolve still has the incoming wave to clear as well, but that Arcane Comet, it feels like, plus Azir's just early daggers, making it a bit tricky for Evolve to do anything other than farm under the turret, at least for now. But not going to fall too far behind. Should be able to get all these. Does easily with a Q and a missile. And as you can see, it's a little under 10 for that CS disadvantage right now as Alorum, despite the early pressure, even though Dokla does have a good individual gold lead from the TP he used and the early jungle gank. Keeping up in farm here for Alorum on the Malphite.
The good thing about the Malphite is that against a melee matchup, you're really not going to get picked on after a while. You're going to hit a certain moment where the second you get jumped on, you just hit the ground and you're safe. That's all it takes, really. He's very good at disengaging against these targets. Now, Winston, once he hits 6, then he can start thinking about ganking him, but all in all, trying to shut down a Malphite doesn't do a lot for you. The Volibear can carry, but you also want to put the opponent in a position where he's not able to influence the map when you're trying to cap somebody, and no matter what you do to Malphite, his ultimate is still going to be just as relevant, so it's not worth it to waste a lot of time up there versus the value you could be getting in setting behind somebody like a Varus or a Nazir.
Yep. Brief eyes on Smithy there. You can see he's pretty significantly far ahead in the jungle, both of course the overall CS, but gonna keep an eye on the levels. Yet there's level 7 for Smithy after he clears those Krugs. Winston's still level 5, but I imagine isn't too far away from 6 as he does ding over there now. But Smithy's certainly doing what he needs to be doing on this champion early on, keeping that farm lead, keeping that XP lead. I think it's what you do with that lead that you build kind of defines Nidalee in this mid game. So whether it's counter ganking, whether it's poking, whether it's taking, like walking into the enemy jungle and taking their camps, or just doing objectives for your team, Smithy I think has kind of done, you know, the first 10 minutes alright. I'm curious to see what the next 5 to 10 look like, because depending on how the game unfolds, if the teams want to be a bit more aggressive, you do have to start making more, you know, macro level decisions as Nidalee. You can't just selfishly farm the whole game and expect to win.
Well, that's how I play my solo queue game.
I know that, Crumbs. Perhaps it was a subtle PSA or not so subtle PSA to the junglers in the world as Dokla gets a nice trade there onto Alorum. See the lightning
I actually just had a game where somebody told me, so I guess jungle's just going to farm all game until we lose? And I said yes, and we won.
There you go. He had the result wrong. Has the idea right, though.
Well, that's because I muted him and then started ignoring him and focusing on the game.
And you won the game.
Nidalee can do the same thing. Just ignore all the pings that people are asking for you to do. You have 6 titles. I looked it up. So Smithy knows what he's doing. He doesn't need anybody to tell him what to do. And so going for the dragon I think would be a good call, since Winston was so kind in setting you up for the very early first take, and with Insanity having TP, they could rush this as well. They have Nidalee in the area, bot lane has priority, but at least Winston has learned that it'll take a control ward to try it. He's going to try to rush it again, but the TP from Insanity should let him know that this is not going to go down without a fight.
Alright, so while we let it brew, I knew that you and Riv were guessing what the Soul Drake would be, is that correct?
Yes.
So what's it gonna be, Crumbs? I'm gonna go with Cloud.
Cloud.
All right, we're going with the Cloud. We're going with Cloud. They're gonna get it. What's it gonna be? It is Cloud.
2 for 2.
All right, 1-1 apiece on the Dragon side for each team, and it will be the Cloud Rift as correctly predicted by us. Still a nice little lead here for Apollo. Let's go ahead.
I realized the Q has just been that when the Braum is proccing his spells on Dragon, he turns white, and then I'm thinking, well, Cloud is white Dragon, so let's go for that. So,
perfect.
Only ask me when there's a Braum in the game.
Okay, that's the only way you can know.
And then I'll guess Cloud, so I'll have a 50-50 chance.
All right, Winston has snuck himself here into the bottom alcove. Smithy was kind of trending toward the area, but he's straight back to the top half of the map now. So we'll see how long the Trundle wants to wait around here for Apollo and Hakuho to maybe overextend themselves, as Evolve will TP back in the mid lane as well. Falling a little bit behind now, the Nash's Azir is starting to really chug the waves into the turret, but the Manamune here for Corki is going to steadily build him up in power as we move towards the 15-20 minute mark of the game. Xmithy, though, is going to start the Rift Hold, so it looks like a dive was the go here, at least briefly, but now I can't see where the Trundle is. I think he's still down there.
Lorem has TP, and so Dokla was actually the catalyst behind TSM being able to take that without a fight, where he just roamed straight down. Both top laners still have TP, and there are wards that they could use to take this fight, so it looks like if TSM forced this,
they're forcing.
Alorm can TP in here. Malphite is really good here.
Yeah, there is the TP Hakuho with a great hook as well. Truso gets a Braum ulti up before going down. Does fall to Alorm though. Apollo, though, is also going to die, and Lost is just dishing out the DPS as Dokla will get himself out of there. Pop the ulti to stop the tower, but here comes Insanity and Xmithy. First spear is going to be a kill. Lost is going to have to flash out of there. Winston not so lucky as he gets pulled back by the Emperor's Divide, and Insanity on time with his jungler for that roam turns it around.
Okay, that was very bold out of TSM to linger around for so long and then go for the play. Usually when you want to go for something like that, you want to give your opponent as little time as possible to figure out what is up. They didn't do that. They took all the time in the world, and even though Alorem only hit a single target with the ultimate, it was still enough to buy time for the rest of the team to collapse. The Azir, having that big priority in the mid lane, was able to get down there, and Evolve just didn't even show up. He couldn't. There was no window for him. It wasn't the right play for him to go, and now Immortals get that first turret.
Yep, no TP, no package. Xmithy takes that Rift Hold, converts it into that bottom lane outer tower. So pretty good boost in gold. They're up almost 1,500 gold here at the 14-minute mark as Evolved is going to go ahead and solo out the blue buff for himself. This will mean we'll swap ourselves to the top half of the map, at least briefly, while we wait 2 minutes for the first Cloud Dragon to spawn. But, you know, a good read, I suppose, by IMT, as easy as it might have been from what we could see on our screens. I mean, I like the attempt. I think you shouldn't draft Volibear if you're not willing to tower dive. Like, that's the one thing his ultimate screams is like, please disable the tower and dive the champions. Dokla at least is going to get the trade at the end of the day, able to finish off the bottom turret.
Yeah, it's a good move, and what I'm thinking is, did TSM need to force that? Like, was it the play to go for it? When you have double marksman, you're usually fairly content to just play things out fairly slowly. Hakuho does have hook, so he's going to be fine.
Good hook. Gravitum couldn't quite come in at long range despite Lost having great guns for that exact scenario. 1v2 no here for Dokla. No ulti up yet, so can't really leap out of there. Just going to have to stand and fight, but not really much of a fight as Xmithy is going to get a nice clean kill.
Doesn't have the ultimate to get out of there, and this is the combination that I really like to see with the Nidalee as we start to see this champion become more of a trend in the jungle matchup. It's not so much about having an additional poke to set you up, but about having tanks that can be frontline that can make it so much easier for you to get into the mix. So picks like Malphite, Scion, Maokai just do so much for setting the Nidalee up for success. Knock him up. Very easy spear, and once again, Winston gets a buff stolen from Apollo. We need him to spam an emote at this point. It's a disgrace that he's not able to show something to Winston after the steal at Dragon and then the Gromp.
Yeah, we'll have to perhaps talk to Apollo about his emote wheel and see exactly what he's got.
He's too nice.
Lined up.
Is that it? Right? We know he's very kind.
Maybe
that's it.
I don't think he's above the emote wheel, though. I certainly think I think he's ready. We'll have to see. Perhaps we can find out later on. Goldo still staying fairly even. There is the Drake up in 2 seconds, so TSM going to be the first to the plate here for this Cloud Dragon. And looks like no contest here for IMT. They'd rather take the gold instead, as Apollo is able to push through the top outer tower.
Once again, Dokla moves down for the Dragon. Doesn't have TP, and neither does Evolve, so Xmithy is up here, and with Nautilus, they could try to dive Evolved. He's using all his rockets and has the package to stall it out, so they're not going to go for the dive. Instead, they'll just base, and it looks like the ARAM game is about to begin. There's no more side turrets. There's only the mid one. And you know what Immortals loves to do now with the poke? You just group up, wait out that package, and try to siege on mid. And that's exactly where the bot lane is going.
Yeah, we can see Lost and Treats actually occupying that space. So going to try and get as much damage as they can to the mid out of the tower, but it will likely be quite a pitched battle here in mid lane. Although pretty happy in the side lane, is about to have his TP come back off cooldown. And Manamune here for Corki. Seems like more of a recent development. I'm trying to remember if Corki's Evolved would build this item. Like, it makes sense with what he wants to do. But it does delay your Trinity Force quite significantly, even though it makes you stronger overall once you get both items. So Evolved is kind of just farming to that point more than anything else. He's going to just be wanting to not really do anything else other than get gold while he builds up to the item. And Insanity, of course, going to go to that side lane and match just to make sure the pressure continues in the long lanes as Dokla finds a stun. Turns the Sirens on there towards Hakuo, but the ulti for Treats is actually onto Apollo, but they're onto Hakuo now instead. Continuing the kill potentially as Evolve does package in towards him. Dokla finally gets a follow-up stun, but Hakuo's still not dead. One more, there's the Rocket need one more. There's Dokla with the bite. He's able to take down the Nautilus. That took an awful lot though, Crumbs.
Yeah, and there's really nothing to fight for here, and so Azir has just been quietly chilling in the mid lane and is gonna hammer away at this turret. Might actually have enough to take it down, and yeah, he does. And with this turret now, Immortals can actually fight. A lot was committed to take down Hakuo.
Yeah, TSM want to try and fight to punish here, but could be a problem here onto Alorum. He does get the ulti down, but Treats goes golden, gonna get picked off though by Smithy. What a beautifully timed spear, as now TSM just have to turn tail and run. IMT will have the inside track for maybe the tier 2 push here as well. Smithy just going to continue to box them out here. Insanity, he's already onto it. He's got the Sun Turret down. TSM is getting chased back towards the Nexus.
Oh, they greeted out for such an insignificant kill. Hakuho is not the target that they have to go for. You see, at first, they also exhausted Apollo, so they thought they could get him. And once they committed to Hakuho, they thought, well, we got to keep going to try to kill him. But what should have been done is to just defend the mid lane turret. That was what we knew the game state was going to be at. Now they've lost 2 of those towers. It's going to put him in a really tough spot as the dragon is going to come up in 2 minutes. The Herald is completely out of the question. This belongs to Immortals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mid tower was already dead by the time they started their initiation. I could be misremembering. But in my head, I don't mind chasing for 1 kill. I think it's re-aggressing on mid after that tower falls to try and trade is where I'm like, that seems a little bit too much.
I never like chasing a support that is 0-2 that far. Because they burn so many summoners, so many ultimates. For a guy that, like, what? No matter how far behind Nautilus is, he's still going to have a Stone Plate eventually and the Nautilus ult. So he's going to do his job no matter what. If you're going to overextend like that, you want to make sure that you're making the opponent that you're chasing worse at his job later. Hakuho's unaffected. In fact, he feels great. Imagine if he went for an engage and that was the result that he got. He would have been appraised for how good a fight he began.
That's true. There aren't very many Nautilus flash ults. So, can't agree with you there. Minute till that next dragon, though. That is kind of the window TSM have open for themselves at this point, is snowballing up to that Soul Dragon. Alorum's going to slap down that wave, and looks like he's going home to spend some money as well. Do have the transform for Evolve now, so that will add a nice bit of extra power. Not there for the Trinity Force just yet, though, although Dokla does have his, and 2 items for Lost as well. TSM probably not feeling too bad. They're down 3,500 gold, which is a lot, but I think they're getting to the points in their items where they're happy to start taking these fights and fight for these objectives. Certainly these next 30 seconds around this Drake will be the next important window of time, but Immortals in danger of snowballing this game, too far out of reach. As Dokla, what are you doing there? He's going to get CC chained to death, and Alorum picks up the last hit. It's not what I was talking about when I meant set up for the dragon.
That puts Dragon completely out of the question now. And Immortals is just going to get back on mid lane control and easily claim this one. I was going to say, TSM doesn't actually need to fight this one. It's not like it's a very important dragon in the first place. The cloud is not going to matter that much. And it's not taking it a soul point. So there could have been a world where you just say, we have Aphelios and Corki, we're happy to scale, there's still a top lane turret to take down, which will be fairly important, as the game progresses into Baron control. If we focus on that one instead and get a little bit more gold in our carries, we might be in a better position to fight when the Malphite and the Nautilus jump in. We'll have the damage to take them out right away. Instead, they lose that and don't even get anything in return. So I think this is the classic situation where you have just the veterans being able to prioritize their objectives a little bit more versus the standard phase where that newer players go through, where they want to consistently fight for everything.
I mean, and I like teams that are willing to be aggressive, and it certainly, I think we can say that TSM Academy are an aggressive team from what we've seen so far. But, you know, it's a big difference between, like, the level 1 we were talking about and, like, the Doku's great TP, you know, when they got that kill to effectively counter gank for the bottom lane, to, like, going in mid lane and getting a kill that you probably don't need to get, and face checking the enemy when you don't have any vision around Dragon, right? Those are the differences. So I agree with you that certainly on comp, TSM Academy can do a lot more sitting around and just try and play for, you know, more standard 5v5s. But they do want to be aggressive by the looks of things. Aggressive macro? I like that.
Yeah, right? So instead of being aggressive, fight aggressive looking for the enemy, just have aggressive turret taking. Like, whoa, they're really committing for this turret right now? How unexpected.
Alright, well, IMTA starting to pad that lead pretty comfortably here as we check in on Smithy. We asked, you know, how would he do here in this time of jungle matchup? He is extremely far ahead, it's safe to say. 14 to 11 is the current level difference with, what, 65 farm ahead or so? 302, almost fully stacked up the Rod of Ages, and I assume that's, yeah, that is a Lich Bane coming in for that third item after the jungle item and the roller. So Smithy is a menace, as Winston is personally experiencing just at the top edge of your screen. And Baron on the menu here, as the Immortals have already done the hard work in clearing out that vision and getting some control wards down to strengthen their hold on the area.
You know when you're really behind on a Trundle is when you're rushing Stoneplate. When you're saying, I'm going to completely opt out of dealing damage and just sit here and try to survive, because you don't even have cooldown reduction to spam those pillars. You have one pillar in a fight. That's really all you can offer here, and ulting somebody and hoping that your carries dish out a lot of the damage. So his job becomes a lot more one-dimensional versus what Smithy can do, who might not be packing that Grail, but with the timing he's had on those spears that we saw on the stopwatch from Treats, then I think he can actually do just as much, if not more, than the Grail build can do, because his accuracy has been on point.
Yeah, I mean, he's just another carry at this point. Here's Doku zooming in the mid. Alarm, though, not the target they really want. Stormbringer pops. Treats goes in, but they're not getting through the Malphite. And there's a nice ult. Gonna tag a counter kill here. Treats with a nicely buffered ulti. But again, the Nautilus taking the brunt of the damage with the Stoneplate pop is not really a threat. Winston now forced to run away. Still has his Stoneplate to try and pop, but initiating on the frontliner. Not all that successful for TSM.
Yeah, especially one that can just ult away. A Malphite could at any point in that engage just say, okay, I'm out. You're not going to kill me. You don't want to go for targets that can escape that easily. You want to be in a position where if the enemy needs to get out, he can't just press a single button and be completely unscathed. I don't think Trundle was even there to in range to use ultimate on him. Corki, the primary damage dealer at this stage, is farming the top lane. So looks like Doku is getting a little bit eager with the police Volibear skin, and I can't blame him. Once he pointed out how exciting it is that he's got sirens wailing every time, I mean, how could you not just want to go in and let somebody know that the bear is coming?
Oh, it's so fun. Every time he pops Q, I'm just giggling to myself. But yeah, as you said, the execution more important than the aesthetics in this instance. 30 seconds till the third Cloud Dragon is up, and this is the one that the teams are looking at, right? It'll put you on soul point if you grab it. Teams are tied for those two Drakes already. I don't know if TSM have the tools to fight for this dragon, so they may just look to give it up and then fight for the soul and the Baron in upcoming fights, but certainly feels like this is the point, you know, with 2.5 items done. If you were more ahead, probably 3 items on Evolved and Lost, where you're looking to leap in for a team fight and really take over the game, but I think they're going to have to be a bit more patient here. They are currently looking for counterplay on the left side here, trying to threaten the Baron, but Smithy's going to easily solo that Cloud Dragon by himself. In fact, he's already on it. Alorum's going to go and help him, just to make sure he's got a bit of coverage, and TSM aren't going to get anything in exchange.
Not a very inspired attempt at baiting that Baron. Immortals very quickly just moved to the side and knew what was going on, because as long as the carries are off the map, you know that there's no way TSM can take it down. So Lost and Evolve need to be in a lane, and as long as that happens, or on Vision, they know they can just take all the time in the world to come check it and clear out the Vision.
Yep, you know, Crumbs, we talk about trades a lot in League of Legends, you know, trading one objective for another. That was just a giveaway at that point. Nothing TSM can do.
Not the worst.
Just try and get anything else.
Giving the soul, or sorry, the soul point is still fairly tough, but you're gonna hit 3 items on your carries now, so you're actually gonna be very comfortable now, especially since the Trump can mitigate so much damage. And good ultimate now. You get Alorum's ult. You didn't use Winston, so there is a window that you buy even more time for yourself in the farm department. If you can get that Death Stance on the Aphelios now, that's going to feel really good, since there's only a single item that has healing reduction, which is coming from Apollo. So we've seen what an Aphelios with Death Stance can do. If you guys haven't seen that LEC clip where he 1v4s and wins, please do. Very informative.
This is a play I do like, though. IMTA are actually on the recall, but I think TSM have to turn and fight. Smithy's spears are doing unreasonable amounts of damage. I'm getting Season 1 and 2 flashbacks, Crumbs. Oh no. Goodness, Dokla. He's going to get ulted. He's on top of a ward. Stormbringer's out, but where do you even have to run to? Towards the enemy base he goes. That's the wrong direction.
It's a Renegade Bear.
Someone book this, give this man a traffic ticket. On the wrong side of the road.
Oh, he's got a blast cone. He
might be alright. Alright. So, well, turns out he's extremely tanky. Oh no, Apollo shuts down all notions of tankiness. The Spirit of Azada was doing some good work against Italy, but will not turn off the lethality of this Varus.
TSM just thought they could take the Baron in Immortals' face just off of Alorum's ultimate being on cooldown, but you're still dealing with a poke comp. Apollo and Xmithie had just uncanny accuracy and wailed upon them, who still can't really tank the objective very well. Winston was losing so much health, and now the only solace for them will be a flash steal from him. They can clear things out, but he is being chunked out, and there is no more control wards on the side of TSM. They're going to rely on Corki's spells to try to steal this, so Immortals is feeling fairly good about this. They can always engage.
They're trying to fight here. TP in. Might be a little bit late. Hakuo not quite stunned, and there's Dokla. Still aggroing the Baron is Alorum. So TSM might be able to find an exit kill here, but IMT have just fully retreated off now. No need for them to take a risk. And TSM already committed quite a lot to just get a look at that Baron.
They can always go back to it if they really want to, but instead they're just going to pull off. There's no need for them to do it. They feel like they have a fairly firm grasp on this game. You've got the Dragon coming up in under 2 minutes, and I think Azir is about to finish his death cap, so once he has that completed, the carries are not going to stand a chance against the damage that he can pump out, especially with the Leandries on top of it. So let's see, he's waiting a little bit of gold. Yeah, if he's waiting, you know he's got it.
He's going to chill in the fountain. Has the TP if he is needed anyway. In fact, he's going to use it right now because the death cap, as you predicted, Crumbs, has now been finished. And with 1:20 to the Soul Dragon is up, IMT are going to play for this Baron first. They have more than enough time to get both objectives here, so TSM will have to formulate a response.
Oh, Xmithie has officially hit 100 CS over Winston.
Don't see that too often these days, but the Flame Horizon has been hit. Dokla is continuing to fire off the warning bells. But IMT just doing things very diligently here, taking mid-control, firing their poke away, forcing TSM back towards their base. Oh, Treats is in. There's a Brawl Multi decent pillar as well, but Stormbringer in the back line going to be thrown back by Emperor's Divide. Alorum finds a 2-man ulti, but he's going to have to flash out there. They need a little bit more damage. Alorum low, but not taken out. Dokla getting shredded by the Azir, but Losty leaps in. He will get the kill. That's a very key kill on an IMT carry.
Ooh.
But loss goes down to Xmithie, who's just firing on all cylinders today on Italy.
threading the needle on that one, and that actually would have been a fairly decent trade for TSM had Lost staying alive, but now Immortals just wins it hand in hand. Treats with a very bold engage, considering that Insanity had a Azir turret right there. So the Aphelios and Corki damage is already coming through, and you saw how quickly Aloran was melting with Winston's ultimate on him, but the Dragon will continue to go in Immortals' favor. And let me just go back to this again, because so many of the engage tools were used from TSM, and luckily for us, we get to see the replay. So the Unbreakable is already down. Q into R, catches a few members, gets the ultimate. Volibear goes in right away, and then just gets punted out. So here's where Malphite goes in, only catches the tank, and I want to see how the carries died, because the Azir turret goes down fairly quickly. Then he flashes in, takes some damage from the Azir, and then it's that spear. Just so hard to see.
What a snipe from Smithy. There's some minions in the front there too. Like, that's not an easy angle to find, but just takes out Lost. And now Immortals back around this Baron. They already picked up the Cloud Soul. Aloram's got his ultimate back and ready to go. Smithy's level 17.
Jeez.
Tied for the highest in the game with both the mid laners.
5-level lead, Pastry.
Yeah,
just
wild.
Embarrassing Winston in this game.
When we talked about the experience difference, this is what Nidalee does when she's playing her best, and Smithy's certainly looking good right now. Dokla again continuing to try and find engages, but already burnt the Stormbringer. Ultimate is down. Hakuho doesn't really commit any cooldowns except the Stone Plate, and IMT just reset back around the Baron. Like, Evolved is getting there. He's got the Rapid Fire Cannon. He's working on his Infinity Edge. Lost has 3.5 items, including the Armor Pen, Blast Whisper. So, like, if they can find the right fight, like, I think they now have the damage, if given the time and the space, to win a team fight. But the way Immortals are executing his situations, how consistently they're poking them down, how well they're using their defensive tools to extend the fights in favor and lengths that are good for them, is very impressive to watch.
They are two-manning Baron right now, just buying a lot of time. They instantly pulled off, not worth the risk. And here comes the package, just trying to position in the mid lane. Looks like the engage is about to happen from IMT. Catches
onto Dokla. They kind of have to fight now, but they leave him alone. They will. Dokla just left to die. 2 ultimates burnt from the bot lane as well. And Aloran just not taking enough damage. Winston didn't ult him. So now 5v4 around the Baron. TSM Academy running short on options.
This bear is just straight up not having a good time. Get caught out and instantly pop. Doesn't even have a chance to pop his ultimate and stay alive a little bit longer. It's going to be a very quick Baron take. As a 2-man, having it go down this quickly should give you an indication of just how fed these members are on IMT.
Yep, nice and easy there. Smithy has 4 items if we're looking at carries, by the way. I wonder if he'll be the first to level 18. He's certainly going to make the race close. Tower falls in top lane. 5-1 overall in structures. I mean, IMT just have so much control in this game. They're up almost 8,000 gold. They'll likely exceed the 10k mark off this Baron power play.
So the Infinity Edge is about to be completed from Evolve. So the carries have damage. It's just that there's never somebody in front to buy enough time while the carries are dealing damage. Dokla's dying way too quickly, or just by himself, which has happened too many times this game. Frankly, just way too many times, whether it was at the blue buff or there right now. If they fight front to back like we saw in the mid lane, I think that's the opportunity that TSM really wants. It's just that you also have to account for Insanity, who's having a very good game as well. We look at Apollo and Xmithy, but the damage that Azir has been doing and the utility that he's bringing with his Emperor's Divide make it really difficult for Trundle and Azir and Volibear to get it. For champions that just have to walk, anything that has to walk through an Azir is just going to get shredded.
Yeah, I mean, with lethality Varus in this game, like, Insanity is the carry for his team, both in terms of composition and where his items are right now. IMT are just smashing down that inhibitor tower. In fact, they're going to break 2 at once here. Treats again, going to look for the Royal Multi, but doesn't even clip Aloram. And we've seen that going on Aloram is not the best of ideas. Winston going to get rooted in the front line. TSM are trying to find something. Dokla leaped into the back line with a stasis, but Insanity is keeping everybody else out. And Dokla, a last-minute stun, but he gets Emperor's Divided back to Malphite. Ulti's in. The combo is massive. 2 apiece for Allure and Insanity as the solo laners of Immortals will once again wreak havoc in Academy. Has lost the only one left alive, but not for long, as there's the ace as the emotes fly. And Immortals will stop the undefeated TSM in week 2 as they smash down the turrets and the Nexus.
Oh, we get some very good throwback emotes there with either the Optic Gaming, the Echo Fox as well. So rest in peace to those organizations, but we still are remembering them in the emote game.
I believe Alorum has played for both of those teams also. So maybe telling his teammates to make sure that, you know, rep me, guys. I'm on Malphite duty. I got nothing else going on. At least, you know, at least remember me.
Malphite duty is fun. Landing those big fat ults on both carries grouped up just feels amazing. Like, I did my job, guys. Ground slammed them. The fight is won. It was already over by that point, but I think that TSM had a lot of things that they could feel proud of in that game, but they still need so many little areas to clean up, because it wasn't one big string of mistakes or one big mistake that they made, but rather a string of very small marginal errors that kept piling up and piling up that eventually gave way to such a large lead. And the first one, gotta throw it back to the Varus stealing that dragon away from Winston.
Well,
it really hurt.
I'm glad you mentioned it, Crumbs, because we are going to go to a break. But when we return, we're talking to the victorious Apollo. So I guess I'll ask him about his emote wheel. Don't go too far. We'll be right back after this.
Nice.
Welcome back to the Verizon post-game interview. Where I'm joined by the victorious Apollo from Immortals Academy. Apollo, it's good to see you again. Let's start right at level 1, though, where you had an absolutely excellent time. What happened, man? What's going on?
Well, we actually knew that they were going to come and cheese us. So I don't really have any excuse. We kind of knew, and then they told me, and I was like, yep, I'm going to flash it if I have to. And then I flashed, and they still killed me. So I just messed up. It was kind of lame. I've been killed level 1 before, so I didn't tilt, so it's fine. But yeah, I felt a little bad.
Well, I have to think if you're trying to recover from something like that. Obviously, you're very experienced, so the mentality was strong. But stealing that first Drake kind of felt like it was enough revenge to right the ship.
Yeah.
Was that play just like an obvious read from you, or?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Trundle on Dragon, and we saw that their bot lane was doing kind of a greedy reset. And I mean, I assumed that he had Smite, but I still went for the steal anyways because it was either. I mean, the guy, I think he had no flash from the level 1, so I went for the steal and to chunk him, and we ended up getting both. So that was good.
Yeah, did not have Smite. So it worked out perfectly. What has it been like playing in Academy alongside Hardcore once again? Lost in Treats, a fairly formidable bot lane. How was kind of the lane matchup go? Was there any preparation there, or is it just kind of another day at the office for Apollo and Hardcore?
Yeah, we kind of expected an Aphelios pick for sure. So our draft was pretty good versus it. But yeah, they're a good bot lane duo. I obviously teamed with Lost from before, and he was competing for my spot in Echo Fox. But the overall environment atmosphere for our academy team is we're good. It's no one really I don't want to be an academy, of course, but I still feel like I want to perform, and I want to make sure that at the very least I belong there, right? And yeah, that being said, we're having a good time. Getting wins, so it's all's good.
I mean, you've been someone that's played on many different teams and many different players. It's almost amazing that you are one of the longest standing bot lane duos with Hardcore, but do you find it challenging at all to play with new teammates, or is every time you change team or change teammates, is it just kind of okay, just another set of players to work with?
Yeah, I think it's at this point, I'm pretty used to it, and I'm pretty comfortable in dealing with new teams, dealing with new environments, and every team I've been on, at least I've been able to kind of learn something and take back things from those teams, then incorporate it into new teams I've been on, or that I get on, and obviously some teams are more easier to work with than others, but yeah, so Immortals right now, at least with this academy team, and even our iteration of the last academy team, it's been a really fun time to work with them, and yeah, it's been all good.
Nice. All right, so last question, and this is extremely important. Not only did you steal that Drake, but you also managed to steal that Grump away from Julius. And Crumbs on the cast was lamenting that there wasn't enough emoting happening from you. So, Apollo, I have to ask you, what is on your emote wheel?
Well, okay, first off, I would like to emote more, but it's just we haven't had it for long enough time for me to get used to it. It would be perfect for me to emote there, but I just totally forgot. On my emote wheel, I have the Echo Fox icon and the Immortals icon, and then I think I have a B one. Oh, and I have a Ziggs emote. Those are the 3 that I remember the most.
Nice.
The Ziggs, this will be a blast one, and then those 2 ones, yeah.
Nice. Well, Apollo, thank you so much for joining us and answering the hard-hitting questions. Congratulations on your win today.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks. We're stepping away, but there's more Academy right after the break. Don't go too far.